Um, Ilias, age and pronouns, please.
Hello.
Hello, age and pronouns, please.
What did you say? Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Age and pronouns, please.
Elias. You said age. I'm 26.
And your pronouns?
He, him.
Thank you. Which prompt do you disagree with?
Let me see the body count one.
Okay. What's your issue with a woman's body count?
So what I think is, I don't think if you're sleeping around, which is why I'm assuming someone's doing if their body count's very high. Essentially, they're very casual in the way they pick partners, essentially, which isn't really good for a long-lasting relationship. That's what I think, anyway.
If
I
at
would.
the time of their life they're not looking for a long-term relationship, then they wouldn't be. They wouldn't be
I
in
don't think.
that.
Yeah, I think shorter-term relationships aren't really anything. That's not something really good or something someone should be partaking in my opinion, because it causes more harm, in my opinion. That's what I think.
Yeah, so it's a projection of an opinion that's not factual. So that doesn't make body count an issue. It's
I
just
mean,
your interpretation
you're
of it.
more prone to harm from your partner if there's more of them, I would say, essentially.
But you're not. That's just made up. What are you prone to? What
So
harm?
if you're getting into more relationships and shorter term relationships because you're not carefully selecting your
What's the harm?
partner. Okay, so there's loads of things that you can get hurt in a relationship, essentially,
You can
by
get
break.
hurt in one long-term relationship.
I understand that, but it's less likely. No, naturally, it's less. You're having less relationships, essentially.
Well, considering statistically the most likely place a woman would be harmed is in her own home with her partner, arguably that would suggest that they're more likely to be harmed by them than, casual schmecks between two people like a one-night stand. So that would actually go against your point.
And you're saying in a one night stand, you're less likely to be harmed in that scenario than with your partner, a long lasting partner. You're saying essentially.
If statistically, women's biggest place of experiencing harm is in her own home, then that's the statistics. Can't argue with them.
Okay,
That's where you're the most likely to experience harm.
okay, you're saying that essentially. But when you say that as well, essentially, there's other harms you can experience, obviously, from the casual dating scene. Essentially, you're going into areas or situations where you're more likely to experience like sexual harassment and other things as well
So that's not a
from
women's
men.
issue, that's a men's issue.
I would say it's if you're looking for partners every other day, or that would be you are looking for certain things essentially.
Yeah, if you're looking to have schmecks with people that's safe and consensual, then you're looking to enjoy that moment. If men want to abuse
But
that,
it's less, yeah, but it's less likely to happen. I'm saying if you're in casual relationships,
you're insinuating that there are that many men out there causing harm to women.
yeah, men that are looking for casual short-term relationships aren't looking to have a good, long-lasting or something that would be good for that woman. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but again, you're basically saying then that men are causing that much harm to women out there. That if women do want to have schmecks,
Yeah, so that doesn't negate the fact that having short-term relationships makes you more prone to harm. Essentially, that's what I'm trying
it
to say.
doesn't prove that body count matters. So that's the prompt we're talking about.
It would. So if someone that you would have been with, if you didn't have said body count, essentially, because you're in a lot of shorter-term casual relationships, is less likely to be with you because of that fact, essentially, because they're not interested in short or casual relationships.
But if they were looking for a long-term relationship because they've now said that they've had their fun and they don't really want to do that anymore and they want to settle down, then
Yeah.
they're also looking for a long-term relationship. If you're now judging them because they used to want to have a bit of fun with schmecks, that's a you issue. That would be your
Yeah, but
misogyny.
that could come up in the relationships as well, in terms of cheating and other things.
So that's your insecurity.
How would that be insecurity?
Because you just used the word could, meaning that you are assuming that as it's a possibility, you wouldn't want to risk getting into a relationship with someone because your thoughts and opinions and assumptions
Okay.
is more important than facts.
Okay,
You
but
don't
you're
think that's the case.
you're suggesting that someone that was previously in their younger life, essentially, getting into a lot of casual sex and casual relationships when they were younger, is not more prone to doing that even after they get into a long-term relationships later on. Essentially, they'll get bored of that
type of life, essentially. Which is,
Yeah,
if you're a partner or a man,
can't say
essentially,
that
you
as
wouldn't
a-
want that.
You can't say that as a blanket across all the women that you meet that have had sex before you.
I'm not saying having sex. We're talking about having how much sex you had, or
So what's your number that's too high?
I would say if you're getting into, obviously that would be arbitrary in terms of giving you an exact number, but I would say if you're in a very, I would say what generally people would consider being high, essentially, in my opinion.
Would be what?
I mean, if you want me to put a number in it, I'm not sure. More than.
Before you answer it, I think this is the point I'm making. Is this is why men don't understand how body count really doesn't matter to them, is because they make it up on the spot. If you knew what number was too high for you, you wouldn't need to do all this dithering to try and think of a number, because you would say, I know what it is for me. But this is my issue. You'll get a man that comes up in 20 minutes talking about the same prompt, and he'll give a number that might be 20 or 30 different to you and say that's high, and therefore it's not aligning. It's not a consistency across men's reason as to why body count matters. They just make up a number. I've got men coming up who say body count of 2 is too much. I've had men saying 50 is too much. You might say somewhere in between. So it's your personal issue with body count. It's not body count that's the issue itself. It's your relationship with what that body count means to you. That's why I say that men's issues with body count is rooted in misogyny or insecurities.
In what way would it be misogyny? That's what I'm trying to confused about.
The misogyny would be like if you think she's got low self-respect, low value.
But I would say the same about a man, though. This is what I'm disagreeing.
Doesn't matter what you say to men, because if you're saying it to a woman, that's still misogyny.
How would that be?
Because you're saying it about a woman.
So no, if I think of myself in the same way in terms of body count, how would that be disrespectful for a woman, or being misogynistic?
Because you're judging her as less valuable as a woman for having schmecks with other people. That would be misogynistic.
But that's me saying it to women specifically. I'm doing a blanket across men and women.
And I've already explained to you. Okay, so do you like football?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay, can you tell me 2 football teams that you hate?
Man United and Chelsea.
Okay, so if you hate Man United, and then you also hate Chelsea, hating Chelsea doesn't mean you don't hate Man United, right? So you upholding misogyny towards women, if you uphold the same belief towards men, it doesn't remove the misogyny towards women. You're saying the same thing still. That's still the observation you have towards women. It doesn't remove that.
You're assuming it's the negative thing from the offset. That's what I'm trying to say.
When you judge someone and based on like how valuable you find them, that is negative, yeah.
When you say valuable, we're talking about like whether you'd get into a relationship with someone. Value, like the value of a woman, that's not something I can judge, essentially. That's my relationship that I'm trying to get into.
No, you asked me how it's misogynistic, and I said it would be misogynistic if you judged them by saying low self-respect, or if you felt that they had like low value, self-worth, or if you were comparing them to like a lock and key analogy. That would be misogyny. The insecurity.
I've not used any of those analogies about women, though, essentially.
Sorry?
So you're using analogies, obviously, which would be very disrespectful to women, essentially, which I haven't used. I just said if you're more likely to have casual sex, essentially. That's what I'm saying.
You asked me how it could be misogynistic to judge women's body counts. So I gave you some examples. I didn't say you said them. I'm saying those would be examples of what men have said, which would be misogynistic.
But you have to point out what I'm saying that's misogynistic.
No, I don't. I said, no, my point was that if a man has an issue with a woman's body count, it's rooted in one of 2 things, misogyny or insecurities. That's what I said, right? Okay. You demonstrated the insecurity because you went down the route of she could cheat on me because she's had more sexual encounters in the past. That's the insecurity kicking in because you are judging her across the board of other women who have done the same and thinking it equates to cheating. It doesn't, right? A woman who has had a body count of 2 relationships, and cheated on 2 people is more likely to cheat than a woman who's had sex 20 times but never been in a relationship because they've never cheated. So they've never cheated on anyone before. So the body count is not related to cheating per se.
No, you're less likely to stay in a relationship with that person. I'm trying to say.
And that's your assumption. That's what I'm saying about the insecurity is that's what you think. You think she's more likely to leave you because she's been with other men before you. Which means you are either lacking confidence in yourself of how well you can perform in a relationship on all areas to keep that relationship maintained, or you're just judging her because she's had sex before and thinking, she's going to leave and I'm just.
You don't think people that have shorter term relationships are not looking for a longer term relationship in a sense, essentially, in the way they're trying to look for sex or other reasons to have these relationships essentially.
That's why you ask them. You have the conversation with them, right? So if you met a woman that you were maybe attracted to or drawn to, and you started getting to know her, right? You start having conversations and you get to know her better. If you then say to her, "Hey, just out of curiosity, are you looking for a long-term relationship, or what are you looking for?" and she says yes, you don't need to ask what her body count is to then see whether she's telling the truth.
I'm not suggesting you just go up to a woman and ask her what's your like. That would be. I'm not. That's not what I'm suggesting at all. Essentially, I'm not. I'm just suggesting you could perceive that from the way they either converse with you or what they're looking for. Essentially, that's what I'm trying to say. And that from that you can make the decision that you don't want to be with that woman because she's less likely. But then you're saying that thought process is misogynistic. That's what you're trying to say.
That thought process is insecure because you're saying could. You're saying things like could and less likely. It's not true. That's just what you believe. You've convinced yourself that she is more likely to leave you because she's had schmecks with other men before. That's all you're doing. You're just convincing yourself that's how it's going to be for any woman over a body count, which again, you haven't given a number for. So let's say that you weren't allowed to ask a woman her body count ever again. Let's just say you couldn't do it, right?
Okay.
How would you know whether or not a woman is compatible with you or not?
Okay. How would you know? Sorry, I didn't catch that.
How would you know if a woman is compatible with you for a relationship or not if you can't know her body count?
Obviously, you can discuss whether you'd want to have kids or things like that. Essentially, if they're interested in you, obviously.
And if she said yes, I want to have children.
I mean, it depends. Like you can, I mean, when you're talking to someone, you're naturally going to find out about things that they did before, essentially, in their past. That's what I'm trying to say. Essentially.
Yeah, and that's the point I'm making is because you want to find so much about her past, you're ignoring the present of who she is today. That's because your insecurity is driving you to try and find things that are.
Would they also be then insecure if they were trying to see if I was, if I had any issues in my past, essentially? From a woman's perspective, obviously we're both not women, essentially. If a woman was to look into a man's history just to see if it was safe for her to be with that person, would that be bad essentially then as well?
What do you mean by safe? Like, what do you talk about body count?
No, again, if a woman wants a man that's not been sleeping around or had a lot of casual sex essentially, would that be bad essentially?
So that'd be internalized misogyny or insecurity. Same thing.
From her?
Yeah, I don't uphold double standards. Same thing.
So she's being misogynistic to herself.
No, she's internalizing the misogyny that women have experienced from men judging their body count and then placing that onto you. That's internalized misogyny. Holding the same belief towards you that women have been conditioned to believe about themselves. That doesn't make it right.
But you're saying, okay, women obviously in relationship are more likely, if someone were to be harmed, women are more likely to be harmed in obviously because there's loads of factors that affect women more in terms of sexual harassment, other things, etc. So you're saying them looking into a man to see if that person is a good partner to have, if they had any history, essentially, which is harmful to them, is internalized misogyny.
Hold on, the way you're wording that sounds like you're deviating away from body count and talking about things like
that goes into body count essentially, because I'm saying they're looking into if you're having a lot of different relationships and how those relationships are ending, if they end well, if it's cordial or if something happens in that relationship, that would be a bad thing. That's what you're trying to tell me essentially.
Just repeated your same point and I already answered it though.
You're saying that's internalized misogyny.
If a woman needs to know a man's body count, then it's, again, judging on the man from that is rooted in one of those two things as well. I don't uphold double standards here, genuinely. Like, I call out men's behavior, holding men accountable for their misogyny, but it doesn't mean I'm saying, like, it's okay for women to believe these things as well. It's just that that's not what this live is about. This live is about...
I think the main thing is, I think it's a good practice to look into a partner to see if that you're compatible with them, or if they have anything in their history that you wouldn't want in a partner. I don't think that's misogynistic in any way or internalized misogyny from a woman's perspective. I think that's what I think anyway. But I would leave it on that if you want me to leave on that. That's fine.
If you want. Again, I didn't say that. I said or insecurity.
Okay, no problem. That's fine.
Okay. Cheers, yes. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye. Right. What have we got here? ENX. No, not coming up. Juxt. Age and pronouns, please.
Yeah, I'm 20 and he, him.
Thank you. Which prompt do you disagree with?
I would disagree with the first prompt.
Okay, what do you want to say about it?
So like, I would say like it probably depends like on the underlying reasons. So I would say like so me being kind of young, I probably prefer people that are youthful, just because they have traits which I find like desirable, right? So I would say like for that reason, I wouldn't say it's predatory.
What traits are more desirable based on youth?
Sorry?
What traits are more desirable based on someone being young?
Well, we could just say like anything that we typically associate with young people. So like, we could select better like skin quality, like vitality, motivation, those sorts of things.
Motivation?
Yeah, I feel like young people are like typically more motivated than like older people.
You
I feel like
like
old people. Like a lot of the time they seem very like dissatisfied with life and kind of like run down a little bit.
right. So, what age do you not consider to be anymore?
Which age? For me, it would be like 25, I would say.
Okay, so when you're 25 and your partner is 25 or 26, are you going to dump her and then go and find someone different because she's not youthful anymore?
No, I wouldn't dump her, but then I wouldn't say I would like.
But she's
I
not
would
youthful
be.
anymore. So you're not going to be
Well,
attracted to
well, there would
anyone,
be.
are you?
Well, no, the difference would be that like I'm already in like a committed relationship. So like obviously like I'd probably find someone a bit younger probably more attractive. That's competing with like me being with this person for how many years? Like because otherwise we would say people. Sorry, what did you say?
You recognize then that preferring someone youthful is just a temporary preference, right? Do you not see how that's quite, again, predatory? This concept of like the younger you are, the more desirable you are.
So how would it be predatory if it's based on like attraction, like based on like certain like features?
Because it's clearly just a temporary attraction. If you're saying that when they get older, they're not youthful anymore, but you're saying that you have a preference for young people or like, youthful.
Okay, yeah. So
you don't have a preference for youthful people. It's more when you're a certain age, you want to be with someone younger, but everyone changes with age. So
I would say it's about those traits for me currently. But like maybe when I'm older, those traits wouldn't be as important because I also wouldn't have those traits. So I guess it would be about having traits that would be similar to like how I currently am. Obviously, like if you're old and you're probably gonna like have more in common or desire people who are like the same age or older than you. I don't see how that's an issue.
well, unpack the reason why younger features are attractive for you. Like, what's the reason why these things that you gave as an example is something that you're attracted to? From beauty standards that you've been conditioned to believe in?
Well, yeah, of course it would be beauty standards, but how is that predatory though? Like you could say it's like misogynistic maybe, or I don't know how you describe it.
That would still be part of it, but it's still so because it's the equivalent to like the type of thing you're saying is the exact same thing a 40-year-old could say. Like a 40-year-old could come out and go, I think it's fine to date an 18-year-old because I'm attracted to youthful. Right? So are you saying that's okay?
If there's like no like, well, the only reason I'd be inclined to say it's wrong is because there would be some sort of like power imbalance, or there'd be like some sort of like some quality in the relationship which is like inherently unfair, right? Like they might have like more like financial security, more wisdom, these sorts of things. So in that case,
hold on. If he says to you, if a 40-year-old says to you, I'm attracted to youth, that's my preference in a partner, someone who is youthful, and they were to say 18 is youthful, are you saying that's okay?
that he's attracted to youthful features, or then yeah, it's fine. Yeah,
I've already made my point, right? He wants to date an 18-year-old because he is preferring youth in a partner.
if it's purely due to like physical features and not like this person's younger, I can like control them more, then I don't see an issue with it.
Okay, so let's say I lined up 5 people in front of you, right?
Mhm.
And they were a mixture between 17, 18, and 19-year-olds. Do you genuinely think you could tell the difference between all 5?
17, 18, and 19. No, but that's why I probably wouldn't give like a hard cutoff. There's just like a cluster of features around like young people.
That's the point, right? Is that if you're someone saying you're attracted to youth, technically what you're saying is that you could be attracted to someone who's not an adult. because you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between all 17 and 18-year-olds. Do you see now how it's predatory?
No, not really. No, because you can't tell anyone's age. So, like, it's not like they're attracted because they're underage. What?
You're missing the point then. So what you're saying is you think it's okay for a 40-year-old to want to date an 18-year-old, but you're not recognizing that he wouldn't be able to identify an 18-year-old because some of them might be 17. So therefore, his attraction to that individual in the first place was there for enough for him to go and find out how old she was. And if she then told him 17, then the only reason he might have turned away from it is because of the number, because of the law. But technically, he is not attracted to an adult at that point. Do you not see how that's quite harmful and predatory?
Like, again, like you say, it's predatory, but like based on what? Because based on just because he finds this person attractive.
Based on the fact that a 17-year-old is defined as a child.
Well, sure, but he doesn't know that, so I don't see that being an issue there. Like, if he, so okay, so are you saying that like if he's attracted to someone, like there's like adults who look young, right? If he was attracted to somebody who maybe look young but he's like 19 or 20, is that still wrong?
Sorry, Jux, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't hear a word you said because I'm kind of in a bit of shock over the fact that you basically said it was okay for a 40-year-old to be attracted to a 17-year-old.
Well, but here's the issue: like, you're assigning age to try to get this like gotcha moment, but I think you're being dishonest.
I don't need a gotcha because men will reveal like how they feel about these things themselves. I'm here to educate. I'm trying to get you.
I think you're being dishonest here because like like you're saying 17 as like a.
I gave you an example of 17, 18, and 19-year-olds being together, and you agreed that you wouldn't be able to tell them apart.
But that's so stupid because obviously people can look way younger.
Don't say that. Don't say stupid. It's ableist. Okay.
Oh,
Again,
okay.
that's the point I'm making. Is that because they can appear younger, you don't know the difference then between a child and an adult. That's why I'm saying it's predatory.
Yeah, but here's the issue, right? So, like, it's really hard to tell anybody's age, right? So, like, I would say that, like, so if somebody looks, let's say they're like 6.
You think a 40-year-old wouldn't maybe be able to know whether or not someone is at the very least in their mid or late 20s? In their mid or late 30s?
But when you say, okay, but when you say that, then your like age threshold shifts to like 25. So you shouldn't be attracted to anyone like under 23 because they could be 17. That's the issue, right? So like someone who's 23, right, could look like younger.
Just not like enough.
Okay, try to explain that again because I really don't understand why that would be wrong.
I'm going to bring Staples up. Staples, you can maybe try it a different way. Hi, Staples.
Hi there, 44 she, her. I am a parent and my son is 18. You're talking about the same age range. I can tell you categorically, you can tell the difference between those ages from whether we're talking about someone's appearance and then the interaction that you would have with them after. You're at hugely different life places. You have hugely different life experience. Even if you've been through some of the same things, the 40-year-old has the benefit of 23 more years of having been able to deal with that. What are you genuinely saying here?
Wait, when you say like you can tell between those ages, which ages do you mean?
I can tell when someone's 20 years younger than me. The age range you mentioned, there's 23 years between those people.
Oh, but I didn't mention that first of all. That was Lex. But the thing that I have contention with is like saying that like if you find somebody who looks useful, predatory, because they could be younger, right? So like that distinction is much harder to tell, right? Even like 20 or 21, right? You wouldn't really know their age, right? So and that's the thing, right? Would you say, Lex, would you say it's predatory for me to be attracted to youthful features? Would that be wrong?
Staples came up to talk to you. Don't dismiss.
Okay, I'll ask Staples.
So what's attractive about youthful features to you?
What's attractive about it?
You brought them up.
I don't know. I think it would be really hard to explain why I'm attracted to like certain features, right? But I guess it would just be a likeness,
What? Sorry, I missed that word.
like a likeness, as in like they're like similar to me.
Right. So,
So is that predatory?
I mean, being attracted to someone's youth is being attracted. Yeah, it's predatory.
In what way then?
You're not attracted to them as a human. You're attracted to an age
No, because it's
or the
it's not the
ideal,
age.
the ideal of an age or the illusion of youth.
Wait. So how is it about the age when it's specifically about like I would say that I'm attracted to the features, right? Because if they were like 18, right, but they looked about 40, I wouldn't be attracted to the age, right? So that just disproves your point there, I think, because it would be about the features, not the age itself, right?
No, because you're basing it all just on looks as well. Like the person has a very different. An 18-year-old is inherently different to a 40-year-old because are you only attracted to people because they look young, or are you
Wait,
attracted
sorry,
to them
that's
for other reasons?
well, I gave the case like my personal case, right? So you said it's about the age, right? If it's about the age, then like it would follow that I would be attracted to someone who's 18, even if they look 40, right? But that's obviously not the case. It's obviously about like the facial features and the
You should
looks
unpack
rather than
that.
the age. Well, that's what I'm trying to do now. But so if it's about the facial features and not the age, how would I be attracted to this person? I just wouldn't be, right? Because I don't find their facial features attractive, even if even if they look like 40, for example.
You identified that it was youth that you find attractive, the look of youth.
Sure. So that's not age, right?
But if an 18-year-old, where are there 18-year-olds that look like they're 40? Because if they look like 40, then you're talking about, again, the age specifically of what features correlate to the age.
So then it's about the features that correlate to the age, not the age itself. Does that make sense?
Not with the comparison you get, no. Let me see if Darian can try. Hi, Darian.
Hello.
Oh, not this guy. This guy,
Yeah,
Darren,
me
I don't
again,
really want to
Jux.
engage with this guy.
Me again, Jux. And I'm just about to just to confirm, are you saying that in a room full of 18-year-olds to 12-year-olds and they all look the same age, you would be comfortable and should be able justified in being attracted to any of them, regardless of whether you know or not know their age or not?
So if I don't know anyone's age,
If you don't know anyone's age, but you know the room's full of 18-year-olds to between 18-year-olds to 12-year-olds, and are you saying that because you're attracted to youth, that you should be entitled to be attracted to and therefore talk to any of them, regardless of whether you know their age or not?
well then here it wouldn't be about the looks for me. It would just be about knowing that like there's a possibility of me talking to.
I'm not asking you to pivot. I'm not asking you to pivot around it.
That was quite clearly a no.
So no. So then, why are you up here trying to justify being able to talk to people or be attracted to people that are underage? If you know in a room full of people, just because they look like a certain age wouldn't give you justification for being able to talk to them.
Well, here's the thing, right? It's because you like know categorically that there are people who are 12 years old in the room. Like if I see a person on the street, right? Can I finish?
That doesn't change when we talk about 17 to 19-year-olds. Like.
Okay, I have a question for you.
You push back on Lex's example when Lex gave you 17 to 19-year-olds, and you know that some of them are 17-year-olds. So why do you feel like you should be allowed to talk to these people, knowing that some of their age is 17, and knowing that they all look roughly around the same age anyway?
Well, the issue is, I feel like if you know categorically their age, right, or you like know there's a possibility, then I'd say that would probably be wrong. Like if you know,
but Lex just gave you that example. But Lex just gave you that example when you said, "Yeah, but this is what I have a problem with, right?" Because then it becomes an issue of certain 19-year-olds looking like a certain. Lex gave you that example, and you tried to fight back on it.
Well, I mean, I would just say that, like, for example, if I see somebody who I like find attractive, right, and I believe they're like 18 or 19 or whatever, and I approach them and they're 18, like, would that be fine? If I'm attracted to the youthful features of them, would that be okay or not okay?
Do they look like they could be younger?
Well, when you say that, like, what, like, do I reason, like, if I reasonably
Put it
believe,
this way. Put it this way.
Can I finish, please? Can I
Are
finish?
they
right?
going to
Can
get
I-
into a UK nightclub?
Well, no one under 25 can get in a UK nightclub without ID anyway.
Yes, they
like, you
can.
have to. No, you can't. You can't even
Yes,
buy
you
a
can.
Monster. You can't buy alcohol or a Monster if you look under
Let's-
25.
Let's stop a second.
So-
Up here as well. So hi, Kitty.
Hello, Kitty, 42 She/Her. I'm just going to address the chat first, and then there's one thing I want to address up here with the guest. Chat, please stop calling people directly PDFs, etc. Name the behaviour. That's predatory behaviour. That's harmful behaviour. This can get the live taken down. Do not directly call people the things that you're calling, and you know what. Okay? We know it's incredibly triggering. Just keep it out the chat, please. Okay, I can't stress that enough. Otherwise, it's immediate mutes. Guest, the one thing that I want to address, when Darian first came up here, your resistance and disrespect to Darian in regards to saying, oh no, not this guy, I'm not talking to you. What was that about?
Well, yeah, the other day I went on one of his lives, and I basically referenced the study, and he didn't read the study. He hadn't heard of it, from what I know, and he categorically called me a liar and said that I was lying when I said the study
didn't read
twice.
the study.
Can I finish? I don't want to get into it now, but like, if you have the recording, like, please post it. But I gave the study twice, and I've read the study, and it's something that I'm actually like passionate about. And you just said that I was lying and removed me and muted me. So that's why I don't really like. If you think I'm wrong, that's fine.
Okay.
And you can
okay.
combat that. But I would just say
Stop, please stop a second. That's enough. Okay, so that's Darian's lives, and that's how he wants to run them, how he wishes. Darian's the moderator in this space, and we lead with respect here. He's also an educator and advocate in this space as well. Please don't lead with disrespect.
Could I say the study? Some people are asking for it.
No, because it's not relevant to this discussion at this point in time.
Okay, sure.
But do not be disrespectful to one of the mods and educators in this space, please.
So
Okay,
is that for like,
if you didn't want to engage, we respect autonomy, you could have dropped from the panel. Do not come up here and disrespect one of the fellow mods, okay?
yeah, sure.
Let me just be very clear on that. Right, anyway, sorry, Darian, for disrupting. I just don't want to let that go.
It's okay. It's okay. Like,
Anyway, I'll drop my love. That was it. And just chat, please. Please. Can someone mute Gavin, please, as well? It's... this is getting circular and harmful, by the way, just for many, I just want to say. But anyway, it's your autonomy, Darian, and Lex, if you want to continue. Right.
Thanks, Kitty.
Catch you later.
Thank you.
thanks, Kitty.
Yeah, I think what Darian was saying, if I'm not mistaken, Darian, is the example I gave you was a room full of 17, 18, 19-year-olds, right? And the fact that you wouldn't be able to tell them apart means that you are essentially saying that you could be attracted to 17-year-olds. I'm saying, at what age of any man is that okay to say? Because when you start to have a 40-year-old saying that I'm attracted to those different people in the room and some of them could be 17, that's the point I'm making, is that you're essentially saying you're attracted to someone who's not an adult. That's predatory, right? So when Darian gave you the example of a room of 12 to 18-year-olds, you then said, obviously no, because you know that information, right?
Sure.
My point is that in the situation I gave, you know the information. It was the same thing, 17 to 19, but you said it was still okay. And I think the point I'm trying to make is that because men don't know in those situations, that's the point. They'd still rather act on that supposed attraction by going and asking them, hey, how old are you? Or even having that attraction in the first place. And they could find out that they're like 16 or 17.
Yeah, sure.
I don't see how that can't be seen as predatory
So,
to be attracted to youth on a level like that.
well, I think it's well. Here's what I'd say, right? I think that like if so, okay, let's say right, like I feel like it's hard to put like a limit on that because then would you because obviously like people can look like vastly older or younger than they actually are, right? So like even people who are like even like also like 23 say could actually look a lot younger or vice versa, right? So like obviously when you give a narrow range like that, it's going to be hard to like differentiate between those types of people, right? So I wouldn't agree it's predatory because you don't like even because if I gave you the hypothetical where like I don't know, like you could approach somebody who you believe looks like 20, right? And they could be 17. I don't see why that's wrong. I honestly do not see why that's wrong. And maybe we just have to disagree on that. Like obviously if you continue with that, that's obviously wrong. But the attraction itself, I don't believe it's something that you have like you have to actually think of it. Like I don't look at somebody and think, do I find them attractive? No, it's just something that comes naturally, right? So I don't see what's wrong with that.
All right, I'll pass over to Dorian for final points, and then we'll maybe switch it up. Hi,
I
Dorian.
just think it's a bit icky that because the thing that I want to elaborate here is that one of the things we do as youths, quote unquote, is we form crushes on people that are categorically older, that we see on TV all the time. And to me, where this teeters on really predatory and problematic is understanding that even if people want to be attracted to want to be is one thing, but are attracted to quote unquote youthful features, that leads to another topic we like to talk about, which is the fact that a lot of men would love to act on their urges if it weren't for the law getting in their way. Because the moment we start talking about what people can look like but actually be the age of, it teases on dangerous territory of going, yeah, well, my ex-girlfriend looked like she was 12, so obviously I'm like it.
What do you mean with that?
The defense of men, quote unquote, naturally being attracted to people who quote unquote look youthful is, and I'm going to say it, inherently predatory. You can think it's not, and that is for you and the people in your life, and I guess the police. I don't know, but for me, I don't think there's an argument to be made whereby any man of an adult age should ever be looking at anyone who looks like they could be or reminiscent of a child. Like your attraction should be, for me, I can't, and that thing that also goes to women. No one should be looking at like people that are young looking and going, yeah, that's exactly what I'm into. Because if they are young looking, they are a breath away of basically being of you having attracted to children, and that, like I said before, is inherently predatory. And I don't think I have to elaborate further on that. I think it's something that you should like digest, but I've got nothing more to say to that, and that's for you to work on and figure out in your own time, because evidently nothing anyone explains to you about why it's inherently wrong for grown men to be attracted to people that look like children.
That's not true.
What do you mean that's not true?
Well, when you say look like children, like what does it mean to look like a child?
We've had two different examples of grown people looking like the young people around them, both 19 to 17-year-olds and 18 to 12-year-olds. You were able to establish that 18 to 12-year-olds was wrong, despite the fact that the grown men know the information between 17 to 19-year-olds of where some of the people in there are 17-year-olds still. You still found a way to try and and defend that opposition of someone being attracted to them. So there's nothing that we can say to you that's going to get you to understand that it is inherently wrong and inherently predatory for grown men to look at people who look like minors, find them attractive, because they are a hair away from being minors. They are a hair away. But if you don't want to acknowledge that, I can't force you to do that. And I'm not even sitting here trying to force you to do that. I think it's something that you have to go away and figure out why you want to defend, apparently, men that you don't know on their opposition of being able to be attracted to people that look like minors.
Well, you say be able. Just can you acknowledge that like attraction is not a choice, right?
I'm not.
Yeah, it's not a choice. Let's be honest.
I've already explained.
It's not about that, Jugs. It's just becoming circular because
I know, but can you I think it's dishonest if you don't at least acknowledge that point, right?
But I think you're not understanding that that's the point that we're also making. It's not about whether it's a choice. It's about unpacking what you're attracted to.
No, I understand, but like framing it like that, I think is just dishonest. But yeah.
Of course, you think framing it like that is dishonest because you're defending an opposition that benefits from being attracted to people who are younger than you. That of course you think that's disingenuous. Of course you do. Sorry, Lex.
Appreciate coming up.
I will drop. Love ya. Bye. Oh, before I go.
Oh, wait. Go on. Come back. Come back. Come back, Dorian.
Hello. Sorry. Thank you for that last gift. That was really cute. Quick one. I've had not a bit of pushback on establishing the difference between calling out predatory behavior and calling that predatory talking points and calling someone a PDF. We don't know these people. We don't know these people. All we can go on is based on the information they give us when they're in the box. And so I'm not going to sit in here and make any kind of insinuation to what the person does in their personal time. I'm not going to sit here and make any kind of insinuation to know what kind of person they are. All I can go on is what they give us, what information they give us in the box, which is why I'm backing up what Kitty said earlier and saying focus on the behavior. So if you feel like something he said is predatory, talk about the fact that he said that being predatory. If you think that the behavior he's exhibiting is harmful and predatory, say that. Please don't go on to call the guests PDFs or insinuate that people need to look at their hard drives or anything like that. I had to mute 2 people just coming in because we don't do that here. So you will be automatically muted. There is no ifs or buts. Please, I know it was harmful and triggering. Take a break, hydrate. It's been very hot today. I've not moved off my bed. Anyway, I love ya. See you later. Bye-bye.
Okay. Hello, Kitty.
Oh, hi, Kitty42, she, her. I'm just up here, what to do best, to apparently lecture everyone. And so, W Darian, W Lex. So, just be very clear, chat. The lives are getting incredibly busy now, okay? There's so many harmful things that I'm seeing. Ableism, the insults. Darian explained everything beautifully there. I don't need to repeat that. Okay? If we see any of that, it's immediate mutes. We do not have time for this to be derailing and going over this again and again and again and again. Okay? Because the people that are doing it, it's not new people. It is regular friendlies, regular people who know how we run this space. If you're getting triggered, please protect your peace. Take a break. It's an educational space. It's not a pile-on. Okay? We're not all in here to pile on and point the finger and start shouting all of the things that I've been seeing or insulting. Okay? Comment, challenge the behaviour respectfully. It's education. We know it's triggering. Okay? We know. Just keep it out the chat. Okay, it's too busy for this, it's too hot for this. You will be immediately muted otherwise. Okay, I'm done. I'm not coming up here again to do this.
Thanks,
I'm
Kitty.
not, I'm done. I've got ice cream, it's too hot. Everyone, I'm going to start getting disrespectful myself, but I'm going to keep it out of the chat.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Kitty.
Okay, and I'll send it to you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, Martin, age and pronouns, please.
Hi there.
Hey.
Age 31, he, him.
Thank you. Which prompt do you disagree with?
So, okay. I was just about to ask you, does it have to be all the prompts or just some of the prompts I disagree with?
No. If there's one prompt you disagree with, we can talk about it. That's absolutely fine.
Okay, the first 4 right there, I agree with you. I'm not going to disagree with you. 5, I'm kind of iffy. Number 6, that's the one I 1,000% disagree with you on that one. It's number
So
6.
to be clear, it doesn't say all men's, right? I do
I
personally
know.
believe the majority. I do personally believe the majority of men's friendships are surface level, but I'm happy to hear from you first.
So, what that implies is that women friendships aren't surface levels, and obviously not all, the majority, but it just says I don't believe that, because so many men's friendships, and I'm not saying women's friendships are surface level. They're not. I think obviously it just depends on the person to person, but I don't believe all men's friendships are surface levels. I feel like
I didn't say all, Martin. Remember, I didn't say
no.
all.
I know. I said I don't believe that men's or even most men's friendship levels are just surface levels. I feel like the depth of your friendship truly is just like depth is proportionate.
I'm getting a sense of passion because I feel like you're thinking about your friendships, and it sounds like if that's the case, you have great friendships, and if so, that's brilliant, right?
And I'm really trying not to be. I'm really trying not to be.
No, I hear that.
Biased.
I
Yeah,
try to look at the bigger picture and the things that are changing, right?
Yeah. Oh, 1,000%.
I'll mention a few things and try to encompass it. Unfortunately, this prompt always is a long explanation, so I will give that. But if you could bear with me, that would be great. So,
Of course.
I think if we start with things like fathers in raising their sons, right? I think they get conditioning from their fathers, grandfathers, etc., of what it means to be a man, and I think that is shaped from when you are a boy. Okay, so the phrases that we typically hear of boys don't cry, don't express your emotions, don't show vulnerability, toughen up, because that's a reflection also of your father and how he's raised you to become the man that you are, right? Even little phrases when they say to their little son, their sons, they go, little man. It's like they're already making them an adult when they're a kid, right? I think that when their sons maybe come to them with high emotions, expressing the emotions, maybe uncontrollable crying, whatever it is, I think it triggers something in a lot of fathers that they feel uncomfortable seeing their sons like that. But the emphasis is more to stop it rather than to empathize and support the process of regulation. And so what I think happens a lot of the time is that element of stop crying, boys don't cry and all that begins to ingrain a cycle for that boy to think, you know what, my emotions, I'm being told are not welcome here. I'm being told that actually I'm upsetting my dad through the way that I'm crying. We're talking about children. We have grown men that don't know how to manage their emotions. How can we expect 4 or 5-year-olds to? And I think that when those boys go to school, maybe they've had a day where they've, experienced bullying, or, they've been picked on, or they've had a really, really heavy, horrible, stressful day, and they come home. And I think that what they do is they suppress the emotions because in their mind, their dad doesn't want to see that. So therefore they convince themselves over a period of time to not do that, right? That's why we have, just someone put in the chat there, that's why we have those moments where you get boys that will sometimes take their violent anger out by punching something because it's built up, short fuse, really quick, don't know what to do with it, boom, there's the impact. When you have a group of boys now together at school who have all been raised in similar ways, when one of them is feeling vulnerable, the chances are those boys are not going to step in to offer support and empathy because they've not experienced that themselves. They haven't had the tools, they haven't learned the skills to be able to provide that space within their friendship groups. So what ends up happening is they form friendships on things like gaming, sport, music, maybe even talking about girls, or when they're older, going to the pub. And I think that oftentimes those become the default ways to support their friends when something goes wrong, which is actually avoidance and deflection, right? Someone wants to be vulnerable in the friendship group. You'll be fine. Come on, let's go and take your mind off it. Let's go play a game. You'll feel better after, that kind of thing. And I think a lot of boys feel that if they are vulnerable with their friends, They might get judged, they might get ostracized from their friendship group, they might get called less masculine, they might get called weak, and they don't want to risk that. They don't want to risk their image being portrayed as that from their friendship group for two reasons. One is it won't feel good, but two, they'll probably realize that it's not actually as strong of a friendship group as it could be. These skills that they could learn from then are also transferable to anyone around them. Going into relationships, for example, women for centuries, or maybe decades, were looking for men who are, the typical protector and provider, right? That's the stereotypical role of a man. That's what it's always been from a traditional perspective. And so women now breaking free of patriarchy in a lot of areas, one of them being relationships, they're not looking for that anymore because men are not protectors and they're not providers, in my opinion. Different conversation, sure. But then what they're looking for, if you actually look this up, is emotional intelligence, kindness, and communication. Three things that men, even as role models, if you could think of any, are not pushing that narrative for men to try and have when they're younger. You don't see the Andrew Tates of the world and the red pill community saying this is what you need, because they'll tell you things like depression isn't real, doesn't exist. But they've got one of the biggest platforms out there to tell you how you should treat women, which is with misogyny. So women divorcing more, not wanting to be in relationships with men anymore, or as much, let's say, and women not even, birth rates declining, sorry. These are all, two more things. Men's mental health getting worse, men's self-unaliving getting worse. When you encapsulate all of that together, I personally think that starts with boys' friendship groups, but it begins with parenting. And I think that all of that put together is why it's more surface level than depth. I really do appreciate you listening to all that, so thank you.
Of course. So a lot of that, what you just said, I agree with you. Like, yes, it does affect like the father and like the fathering, the whole boy, because I'm a Black American man. I grew up. I really know. Like I know. Me say I'm Black. It might not sound like it matters. It does. I've been told not to cry. Like my brother used to hit me when we fight. He hit me. He's like, "I'll give you something to cry. Don't be crying. I'll give you something to cry." I heard that all my life, and that is true. But what you said when you said a group of boys and they go through that, I feel like they find commonality in that. Like, yes. They turn to games. Some of them, they do turn to gaming. They might turn to drinking and all that. But like, honestly, you're saying like, maybe not going out to like the bar and drinking. That's not, but like gaming and the common, spending time together, talking to each other about, girls, but you're also talking about, what you want to do in life. I feel like there is some depth. Yes, you might not be the most emotionally helped. You might not be the most, but like, I feel like there is depth within finding commonality within people, finding your friendship, finding a beautiful depth. Like, to me, depth is proportional.
I think commonality is just like similar interests. I don't think that's depth.
Well, no. It starts out with common, like the whole thing with a group of boys who are raised by like the same, like that. That's commonality. But finding how deep it goes, I feel like you can find so much more within it. Like not necessarily, the best way.
I think it's possible, but I just don't think boys and men take advantage of that possibility. I think often, like, and I go back to an example I had with a client years ago, right, where it was during COVID time. And he was really worried about meeting up again with people because it had been like a good year and a half. And you had to like sit 2 meters apart. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
There's like 8 of them, he said, around a bar table, just sitting there in silence until one of them, wasn't him, but one of them just said, you know what? I have actually felt so down that it's like quite depressive over the last 3 months. Has anyone else actually felt that? 3 or 4 of them propped up. There was the depth, right? But I don't think men want to take that opportunity of that ice-breaking moment to form that connection. I think a lot of them are scared. No one wants to be the first person to say it because of the fear of the judgment of everyone else. Don't want to be the odd one out by saying like, I'm the one person that said something that no one else believes in, and now I feel vulnerable and no one's around there supporting that. I genuinely think that happens more often than the other way around. I don't think men do tap into that vulnerability that is such a strength to utilize.
See, I think
because they've been conditioned to suppress,
I think a lot more modern men do though. Like I've met so many other men. I'm just like, who I just met. Like I've met men. I'm thinking, oh, you're not who I expected of you. Or like, I work at an eye doctor. I talk to just random people. I'm like, oh, you're something else. I know I'm being biased of my own person. I'm being very anecdotal. And it's hard not to. Like, I get where you're coming from. When you mean the depth, you mean like coming out emotionally, talking about, traumas, or talk about, what's going on, right? Am I correct?
Doesn't have to be, again, it doesn't have to be that deep all the time, but even just conversational things about how they're feeling. The boys and men don't really do that. And again, I'm not saying all. I think there are a lot. I think
No, you're right. But so like,
no different to the narrative of how, men will say, don't express your emotions to your partner because she'll use it against you. Phrases like that just, again, is like another additional reason for men to just shut down and just be like, yeah, that reaffirms it for me that I don't want to risk that, right? And I think a prompt I used to have is men are terrible at dating. A genuinely I used to have. And my reason for it was because if a man goes on a date with a woman, talking about a heterosexual dynamic, if a man goes on a date with a woman and he maybe finds that they laugh together, maybe there was a bit of, flirting between the two and they had good conversation, maybe a kiss at the end, maybe not, but he would go home thinking, yeah, that went well, right? And I think men play on that to the point where it's like, let's rinse and repeat the same thing. Keep the conversation flowing, keep the humor going, blah, blah. But I don't think men will ask certain questions that tap into emotional compatibility with her. And so because that rarely gets explored, months or years down the line, when he is feeling like he needs to be emotionally vulnerable, in his mind, he's going, she's never seen that side of me. That's a risk. And it's like, because men don't explore that early, you don't even know if you're with a supportive, compatible person for this because you've never explored it, because you've never been conditioned to do it with your friends. That's what I'm saying. It transfers into relationship dynamics when men date. They don't ask those kinds of questions, and that's what I'm saying. I feel like it has a knock-on effect everywhere. And that's why I gave you the examples of statistics of more divorce, less women being gravitated towards men, men's mental health, men's self-unaliving rates. Like they're all falling in a line with each other of the same thing that's a negative effect towards men. So something's changing. And I think it's because women are liberating themselves and saying, I don't need a man for his finances, and I definitely don't need a man to protect me. So what is it about men that's the big appeal? Well, emotional intelligence is what women are looking for. Where's the men out there encouraging themselves amongst each other to work on that? They're not. It's changing, and I think men are holding on to traditional values that don't benefit them today.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, you're making good points. So I guess one comparison I'd like to make to this, like you're talking about, how men don't talk about, their feelings, and like they almost like you said, like they deflect. They kind of like almost deflect. A comparison is going to be not a wild one, but it's off. But like I told you before, I'm a Black American. One of my white friends told me, they said they saw me with me and my Black friend. We were talking about something traumatic that happened within a Black community, and they were like, "Why are y'all?"
Wait, sorry, just in case, I just want to make sure that we don't actually reveal personal information about other people's stories if it's not yours to tell. So
it's
the point, but just to be like sensitive on that point.
Yeah, no. We were just talking about something that happened long ago. So he asked me, why do y'all laugh? Why do y'all joke? Why do y'all do this? Like, it's like, because that's how we bond together. Like sometimes all we can do, like sometimes all we can do is just laugh and uphold each other and be there for each other. And we don't have to get all,
You really not think that there is anything about laughter that is a mask?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like it doesn't mean I don't have like a deep connection with them. It's just, I feel like it's just, you don't always have to,
But that's the surface part, right? My point is like, no, you don't always have to, but your words were, we always laugh. And that's my point right there, is you're used to laughing it off because that's how you uplift one another. But all that's doing actually is just scratching the surface of, yeah, we acknowledge there's something there, but let's have a laugh about it. No different to, let's go somewhere and take your mind off it, right? Instead of laughing, why is there not an open, vulnerable conversation about it where different emotions can be met? That's the depth for me, right? I'm not saying you have to do it every time, but I don't think men do that enough. And I think like you kind of inadvertently said what I'm saying, right? Which
Yeah,
is
but
a lot of men
sometimes,
laugh it off, right? Like, oh,
yeah.
tomorrow's another day.
Now, granted, I will say it's a little bit different for what I just said versus men, because sometimes when you do talk about it, you do unravel it. It feels hopeless in life, but that's a whole different story. But for men, I guess some guys, they do feel hopeless and helpless in life, and I hate that they do, because I've had conversations with friends back in, like, when we were in high school. They felt hopeless. I would talk to them, be like, it's never too late in life, man. We're young. We got a whole life ahead. I'll be talking to them, like, because I love my friends, because I understand. And I've had some friends who are, unfortunately, well, they have either become incels, or they fortunately not are incels anymore. That they had to kind of switch that out, kind of push that bad habit out the way by talking. But I don't know. I feel like, damn, I think you've made your point. Never mind. I think I'm wrong. I'm sorry.
It's not about being wrong. Like I said, it's not a debate. It's an educational, because I do. This is part of the conditioning that I think a lot of men don't realize how deep rooted that is in them. Like
Yeah.
It's a bittersweet moment in that sense, that like that's the golden moment that we look for here, the penny dropping, right? And it sounds like there was a moment there for you that hit, and it's like that's what we need a lot more men to have, that moment where they sort of go, do you know what? Yeah, like maybe I do think there's depth to my friendships, but actually a lot of it, like there can be depth, but maybe a lot of it is actually more surface level, and
Because I know, I feel like my friendships are a lot more deeper. They're a lot more, but then I'm starting to think about, like, my other friends and then their friends and their compare. I'm thinking, oh my God. And I'm kind of starting to think about my friends' friends, and I've seen the way they're. I'm thinking, oh my God, there's no, yeah.
when you really meet, you start to see it more, right? So
Yeah, I'm starting to think about it more.
And it doesn't. I do want to make this clear, right? That this is not me saying that men's friendships are bad, or they are weak, or they are terrible, right? What I'm saying is that I think men's friendships reach a certain peak where they almost go, that part of this friendship, we don't do that here. And I think they're missing out on a huge part to really represent, right, how deep their friendships can go. So one last example I'll give, and I'll probably switch up the guests as there's other people waiting, is how many times would you hear a man say, tell me how you would be there for your best friend if you need him? And the most instant thing you get as response is, well, if he was ever in a fight, I'd be there. I've got his back. I'm there in a heartbeat, right? It's always about physicality and violence, right? It's always like, that's how I'll be there for him. Never do I ever hear a man say, do you know what? If he experienced a loss, I'd be there in a heartbeat. It's never about that kind of stuff. It's always just, if he needs me there, physical presence, I'm there. That's how we have each other's backs,
Ironically, I've had similar conversations about that, but like it was actually kind of about that first topic. We were talking about, like, man, what if so and so liked younger women? What do we do? Like, what if they turned out? Because like he was making kind of creepy comments about younger actresses, and we were like, what do we do? I said, first of all, talk to him, get him some help, tell him he needs some help. Not like, not necessarily, judge him, but like tell him to talk to someone. First of all, like that's what we say. Like, better tell him to talk to someone. Not like just don't, because he was one to like just straight up judge him. I said, don't judge him. Just let him talk to someone first before he does anything. Actually, doesn't do anything. That's what we were talking about, actually. Weirdly enough.
It's been great hearing from you. If you ever want to come back another time, I do these lives regularly, but thank you so much for coming up.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye. Right, my turn to address the chat. So, when the guest first came up, the comments in comparison to the way that this conversation ended, complete 180. That's why we tell the chat not to use personal comments ad hominems. Because if we are here to educate and we were looking for those penny drop moments, and they do happen, those comments aren't going to help. They're just not. The guest was nothing but respectful on that panel. And we've heard men come up who have been very, very clear with their misogyny. Okay, education does not happen that quickly all the time. We've had men in this live or this space that that have come back 3 months later and said, "Do you know what? I've been listening a bit longer and there are some things I'm starting to see differently." And they would have been met with the exact same comments. So if you want to be supportive to the live and to the education, the ad hominems need to stop. You're going to get muted for it. And it's not because we are saying that you're a horrible person. It's because that's just derailing the chat. He was open to listening. He was reflective in the conversation. There were some people in the chat who said they got a little bit emotional towards the end there. Right? And that's lovely. Like, we want to see that kind of progress, but ultimately we can't be using these ad hominems towards guests. That's not what we're here for. We're not here for a pile-on. Alazo. Oh, sorry. Kitty. Hold on. Hello.
Hi, just one last point, Kitty42 Shihar. If you listen to Lex over the mods, then you need to be unpacking your misogyny or internalized misogyny. That's all I'm saying. I'm the one that reminded Lex, because he's concentrating on the guests and the education, so he's not fully seeing what's going on in the chat. So I'm prompting and reminding Lex, please can you address chat on occasions, because you're not listening to the mods. You've not listened to me, you've not listened to Darian when we've went up. So is it a case of that what you're only going to listen to the other man in this space? It's not acceptable. That was a great conversation. Education takes time to land. This is the whole point of this space. Okay, if you don't believe in education, if this is not your goal, then move on and find another live, but this is our goal. Okay, so if you want to support us with that, if you believe in that, great. Join that journey with us all. Otherwise, move on, please. Right, I'm done. Thank you. Sorry, I said I wouldn't come up, but...
No, it was needed. It was needed. I would have missed that last part out that you mentioned about listening to me in comparison, so thank you for that.
Okay, also just a very quick point as well. This is an educational space for men to unpack misogyny. Misogyny is disrespectful. We agree. Okay, you are going to hear misogynistic rhetoric in this space. Okay, please be mindful of your own triggers. But it's an educational space. That is why the mods have reminders up to ensure education can take place. This is not a pile-on, it's an educational space. And also a reminder, the mods are frequently harmed by misogyny. We are survivors of many things. I'm a survivor of SA on multiple occasions. Trigger warning chat, apologies. Okay, I've been subjected to misogyny at every turn as a woman. I am frequently harmed in this space, but I believe in education. Okay, please be mindful of your own triggers. We want men to get educated. This is the whole point of the live. I can't stress this enough. I can't say this anymore. This is getting exhausting. And dare I say it, this is getting more exhausting than hearing the repeated misogynistic rhetoric that the men are trying to unpack. But if guests are being curious and respectful, work with us. Okay, I can't keep saying this. Right, we're done.
Thank you, Kitty.
Big love.
Big love. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. Just a reminder, looking for men who disagree. So not entirely sure if everyone requesting is a man. Nothing there. Mango, age and pronouns, please.
19 p.m.
Thank you. Which one disagree?
The one I want to talk about is issue, unfortunately. So, men can hold women accountable. I want you to explain that for me.
Yeah, so men collectively uphold misogyny and have a responsibility to unpack that. Both women and men, everyone actually can hold men accountable for that, because that's the patriarchy, that's what it's upheld by. There's nothing women are doing collectively that is part of a system or that is harming men, that men aren't already doing that's disproportionate to women. So what would women need to be held accountable for that's not something that's like an individual doing something?
Also, this is like exclusive to patriarchy or just in general?
Well, in general, what are women doing collectively that men aren't already doing more of? Like, let's say someone cheated on someone, right? We could hold them accountable for cheating individually, but that's not then based on something that women are collectively doing because men also do that. So, what is it exclusive to women that women need
Oh,
to
okay.
be?
So you're not talking about like women as individuals, but as a whole, like as a class of society, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, because I'm talking about men collectively for misogyny. But I'm saying when men always say we need to hold women accountable, it's like, what for? I'm not saying women are perfect and there are women out there that, don't cause harm. I'm just saying, what is it we need to hold women accountable for?
Mm, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But like, what if you're talking about, for example, I'm not trying to like derail the conversation from misogyny or anything like that. But what if you're talking about like other forms of bigotry? Would that still just be led to like
Well, we live
what
in a
if you're talking like yeah?
Well, I'm saying we live in patriarchy, so isn't the patriarchy the biggest form of bigotry? It's upholding misogyny to women. So, like, again, in comparison, where's the bigotry from women that men aren't doing disproportionately?
Yeah, but isn't the whole thing like you can hold many? And I'm not trying to say. Obviously, I agree that men, every single form of bigotry, it's men that perpetrate it the most. But like the entire point is that aren't you able to like hold many people accountable at once? Like for example, if I can make an example, let's say even the patriarchy, right? I know that some women grew up with, even though men were the ones who created the patriarchy and men created misogyny, some women grew up with like internalized misogyny. So
Yeah.
if like I want to use me for example, I come from a place where usually we don't take these things so seriously. It's like a very patriarchal country. Nobody cares. People don't take feminism or all these things seriously there. So and I've come to like a first world country where like I'm kind of educated on these kind of things, right? So let's say if, for example, my little sister is doing something that is like, I kind of understand that it's ironic that a man is telling a woman about something like this because it's basically men's fault at the end of the day. Wouldn't it still be helpful to like tell her what she's doing wrong if she's doing something wrong? I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
Well, so again, if you're holding your sister accountable for something, again, what is it that you're holding her accountable for specifically?
Yeah, for like maybe internalized misogyny rhetoric or like patriarchies or something like that.
Okay, so if I'm being completely honest, if a man is calling out a woman's internalized misogyny, I would say that man is being misogynistic. Like men as the oppressors, calling out women's internalizing of that misogyny is like total Darvo misogyny at the same time. Like we can't sit here and say that men should be the ones to call it out. Women want to call out internalized misogyny amongst themselves, absolutely. Like that's absolutely fine, right? That's something for women to unpack in terms of how they amongst each other are conditioned and recognizing the behaviors. But a man going and doing that is almost like saying, hey, that system we put in place, you really shouldn't be upholding that. But that's a big audacity, in my opinion.
So basically, you're trying to say that men should focus on trying to dismantle the system that they created instead of telling like the oppressed not to act a certain way, something like that, right?
Yes.
Okay, that does make sense, and I understand that for the patriarchy, but you said that applies to also other forms of bigotry, since men do it the most, which I also agree with. So, like, for example, let's see racism. It would still lead to the patriarchy. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
If we're like holding let's say a white woman accountable for being racist, it would still lead to the patriarchy. Is that what you're saying? When it comes to other forms of bigotry.
But the difference is you're not calling her out as a man to a woman. You're calling her out maybe as a black person to a whitey person. So you're doing it because of the race rather than because of the gender. So like you wouldn't be able to go up like as a whitey person. I wouldn't be able to go up to a black person and say like hey, don't be racist towards me. It's like what? Like they can't anyway. The system is not built up on that. The system is built the other way, the oppressor to the oppressed. So
yeah, I'm not. Okay. I think what you said was like reverse race. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying, for example, like if let's say I'm a black person, right? I'm a black person, and I'm like saying black or bringing up black stereotypes that are harmful to the black community in general, right? And a white person comes to say like, isn't that like harmful to your community or something like that? Is that okay for him to say as a white person, even though like, yes, he contributes like racism and things like that. But I feel like we're all trying to like learn and unpack these things. So,
So Darian wants to talk about this. Darian, over to you, buddy.
Hi. It's your kind of like false equivalency. Because it wouldn't be it would be problematic for a white person to tell a black person who's internalized some racism not to have internalized racism. That would be problematic in the same way. But in regards to other black people calling other black people out, that would be the appropriate thing to say. The same way it would be appropriate for a woman to call out another woman for internalized misogyny. That's the equivalent part. A white person, just in the same way, like a man, should not be telling the people who are marginalized that they're problematic for having internalized their marginalization.
okay, so I think I understand, because like since they were the ones who created that system, and most likely the majority of them are upholding it,
Right.
kind of like the wrong messenger, like the right message, but like the wrong messenger. It should be from women, not from men.
Yes, because women can't can't be held accountable by the people that created the system for internalizing the system that they created. So, like you say, right message, wrong messenger. It'd be down for women to help each other unpack their internalized misogyny, the same way that it would be down for other black people to help unpack other black people's internalized racism.
While the men focus on dismantling their misogyny. Or
exactly. And in the same vein, the white people focus on unpacking their racism. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. It was, when I came in, I thought it was just in general, but I think you guys have explained it pretty well for me to understand. So, yeah, the topic I really wanted to talk about, unfortunately, isn't there today. I had to do like the friend zone thing. Maybe I'll have to come another day.
Maybe go
back another time.
We're having a break from the friend zone. But I appreciate it, Mango. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great day.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for having me again. Bye.
Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it. Bye-bye. Gosh, do you know what? I completely forgot about the friend zone prompt. Oh gosh. AJ, it's been a while. AJ, age and pronouns. Good to see you again.
It's good to be back. Good to be back. AJ, 20, he, him.
Thank you. Which prompt do you disagree with today?
So I would like to ask about the first prompt, and if you could explain that further, please.
Yeah, so if we are thinking that there are men out there who are only attracted to someone based on their youth, I'm saying that's quite predatory, because we have men on this app who are saying things like, it's okay for a 40-year-old to date an 18-year-old. And it's like, well, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between all maybe 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds. If you had like a mixture of them all in a room, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. And so essentially, you could be admitting that you are attracted to someone who is not an adult, because obviously the age of 18. You know? So I'm saying that it's predatory to say that youth is what you are, you know, preferring in a partner, because for a lot of men, how would you know the difference?
Right. Thank you for that. Could you explain what you mean when you say men can't hold women accountable?
Yeah, so all men hold on to misogyny and have responsibility to unpack it. Women are not collectively doing anything that men are not already doing disproportionately. So the oppressors, men, trying to hold the oppressed accountable for the system they set up that women are then conditioned to be under, I'm saying that's not something that men can do. And also, what is it that women are doing collectively that we need to hold them accountable for anyway? That doesn't mean that women are perfect and never cause harm. I'm just saying, what is it that they're doing that we have to hold them accountable for?
And I've heard about a topic that has been going around. I think it was not too long ago, but it's about a man or a bear in the forest. I'm not too sure what it's entirely about.
That's an old one. Yeah. So essentially, the hypothetical was, if you were walking through the woods, would you rather come across a man or a bear? And, a lot of women said bear, and a lot of men got triggered by that because they took it personally, and they didn't fully understand the reasons why women would say that, and, called them liars, because they don't empathize with women's experiences of men.
All right. I've heard some people talking about it, and most men that disagree with it, they say that it would be illogical to choose a bear because, men would say that a bear would,
Unalive you?
yeah, like in a very painful way. So what do you think about that?
So bears are predictable, and that's one of the biggest things that women also talk about, right? If a bear is going to, a bear is either going to unalive you or it's not. If a bear is protecting their cubs and they feel they're in danger, more likely to attack. If a bear is really hungry, more likely to attack. Other than that, there are plenty of So the reason that, that's something that women would partly prefer over a choice of that or a man is because of the disproportionate things that a man could do in a situation where no one is around. A bear won't. Well, the other thing is what men don't realize is for a lot of women, not all, but for a lot of women, being unalived is not necessarily the worst thing that could happen to a woman or femme presenting person as well. Sorry. A lot of them do say that, living with SA, grape, etc., is something that's far worse because they have to live with that. A bear wouldn't do that. So that eliminates one possibility of something that a bear definitely wouldn't do in comparison to what a man could do. It's not saying every man would do it. It's the fact that women wouldn't want to take the risk in that scenario of being with a man instead of a bear. Sorry, go on.
The third one, don't mention misandry until there's no misogyny. What do you mean by that exactly?
Sure. So if misandry disappeared tomorrow, nothing would change for men. Like literally nothing would change for men. But if misogyny disappeared tomorrow, a lot would actually change for men. A lot would benefit men. But unfortunately, men think that it's better to talk about misandry. And I think the reason they do that is because it gives them a reason to blame women for something. Because at the moment, men are being held accountable for misogyny and it's being spoken about a lot more. And men are thinking, well, why are women not being held accountable for anything here? Like, what about misandry? And it's like, exactly, what about? It's just whataboutism. There is nothing that misandry is supposedly doing or showing at the moment that is affecting men on any systemic level, let alone personable level. If you scroll up into a live and there's someone hosting it that says, I hate all men, you can scroll off and that's it. It just doesn't affect you. I haven't seen it yet, but I know already that one of the moderators in here has already received from this live a horrific message from one of the men in the chat. That's something men don't get from women. Does it mean no women do it? No, but in comparison, again, disproportionate. I know that the moderators in this chat have received messages after messages from men, all because they might have muted a man because they were being harmful in the chat in the first place. So when men want to talk about misandry, it's nothing compared to what women are experiencing from misogyny. It doesn't even scratch the surface, not even the surface of men's friendships.
Can you also explain the multitude of ways in which misogyny benefits men and is harmful to women?
Well, yeah, so we've got disproportionate violence. That's women's biggest form of oppression. We've got the legal system. We've got the healthcare, which is, medical misogyny. We've got media. We've got parliamentary representation. We have the education system. There's loads of ways that men benefit from misogyny. So again, it's too much to go into on every single one of them, and I've not got my notes here on me. It's next door, but if we wanted to go into that detail at some point, we could. But those are all examples of the ways in which that benefits men.
I appreciate you very much, Lexa. Hopefully, I'll be back for you to elaborate more on that. Thank you for letting me up, and
Okay, buddy.
I appreciate it. Have a good day.
You too. Bye
Bye.
bye. No. Age and pronouns, please.
Oh, it's me? Oh, word. Yo, my name is, my pronouns, I'm 22. My pronouns are he, him.
Thank you. Which point do you disagree with?
Honestly, I agree with all of these except for men can't hold women accountable.
Yep.
I assume there's a reasonable context as to why you said that, but I'm curious as to like what you mean exactly.
Yeah, so the patriarchy is upheld by misogyny.
Yeah.
It's a system that has been built by men and maintained more by men than women. So men collectively have misogyny that they need to unpack. That's something that we can all hold men accountable for, is unpacking their misogyny, right? Because that upholds the oppressive system. There's nothing that women are collectively doing that men aren't already doing disproportionately that we should say women need to be held accountable for this. Because from the oppressors to the oppressed, doesn't make sense that you try and hold the oppressed accountable for something that you as a man knew, but men in general uphold collectively. So what examples would there be that women need to be held accountable for?
Yeah, I guess in my purview, then that conversation wouldn't necessarily be trying to hold women specifically accountable, but I think it would be trying to just address misogyny in general, which is perpetuated by men and women. Of course, it's predominantly it has as a systemic force. It
Remember I said this
it
before.
acts as more of a force towards women, but I think in general, I guess like how it's how it manifests in the real world is that it affects are perpetrated by everybody. So I guess in my case, I guess like how like and how I've like come to recognize like a lot of the like in my life, I don't just like look at women and be like, wow, like, okay, let me be specific. Let me give you a specific example. I guess in my life, a lot of the ways which I learned to be a man and a lot of the things that we would like call, I guess, like toxic masculinity, I've learned from women in my life. Of course, primarily, like the issue of that is that these ideas were created within the context of the patriarchy, but as like a young man, like especially as a child, and I see like my mom telling me to do something because do something like I can't wear like this type of shirt, or I can't express myself in this way because like I'm a young man. Like, of course, like I understand your point, but I guess it's like, when we have to address the misogyny within every single person in general?
Absolutely, because boys are conditioned to it from a young age.
Yeah.
Boys are conditioned to it from like 2-3 years old, maybe even earlier.
Yeah.
You know, like what they see, what they experience, what their views of the world are, what they're exposed to. It can begin from the toys that they play with to the clothes that they wear. Right?
And I'm not, and again, like, I'm not putting that, like, obviously it's not just, it's not like women are out here just like uniquely trying to box the masculinity of men in. But
I do want to say,
I guess like,
the toxic masculinity that you addressed earlier, the toxic masculinity is just misogyny.
Yeah. I'm aware, yeah. I'm agreeing with that point. So I guess like I kind of disagree. I guess I think you should hold women accountable for that.
For what? You haven't. Wait, I don't understand. For what? What? You haven't said anything. For holding what? For having internalized misogyny?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. That's victim blaming. Women can hold women accountable for that. You can't expect men to go up to women and say, "Hey, you know that system we built to oppress you? You should be accountable for upholding that." That's ridiculous.
I can't address women in my life and how their ideas of, again, misogyny, internalized misogyny, and how it manifests and negatively affects myself and the other men in my life. I can't talk to them about that.
I think it's misogynistic for a man to tell a woman that she's got to unpack her internalized misogyny. Like, I think
how is that misogynistic?
I just told you, because you as the oppressor are going up to the oppressed and saying, "Hey, what we have built as a system, you need to do better."
I think the dynamics that you're explaining right now is more nuanced, and you're just trying to explain it by an oppressed and oppressor dynamic. You know what I mean? I think there's like
the example you gave is holding one of your friends accountable for the internalized misogyny she upholds.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm saying that's misogyny by you, because you are going up to a woman and basically saying, "I don't have the experience of all the misogyny you've experienced, but I'm going to tell you you need to do better in a system that already oppresses and affects you.
I'm
A
going to tell you to
system.
do better because it's specifically and negatively impacting other men in your life and how in your relationships with the men in your life.
Yeah. So
I'm
again,
not saying it's women's fault, but I'm saying the way that you
then unpack your misogyny.
yeah. I'm
Women
saying
need to unpack.
we can hold room for both conversations though.
No, again, men need to unpack their misogyny amongst men. If women want to unpack their
We
internalized misogyny, that's
That's
amongst
just
women.
unrealistic because we, as a man, we're in community with women. We can't.
Yeah, you're in the
I
community, but
think
it
I
doesn't
think there's
mean.
spaces to where like you can specifically have men and women like separately have conversations, but that's also not realistic in real life. To where like these things happen, men and women coexist together. Naturally, therefore,
You're missing the point.
men perpetrate misogyny, and women also have internalized misogyny that
You're
manifests
missing the
and
point.
negatively impact the men in their life.
No, you're missing the point. No one is saying that we don't integrate with each other in society. What I'm saying is it would be misogynistic for you to call out a woman's internalized misogyny.
Yeah, but I'm failing to see like how exactly is misogynistic besides you just
You are
saying
the oppressor in that
as the
dynamic.
oppressed person as a man I can't
No.
specify how you.
You keep talking over me. It's because you as
Oh,
the
my fault. My
oppressor,
bad. I'm sorry.
you as the oppressor in that dynamic have that privilege. That's why it's upholding misogyny. It's not a balanced conversation. It's a power dynamic between the two of you. So it's not being met in good faith. Whereas women having internalized misogyny amongst women, that's an equal playing field in the sense that they might, and again, if we're not talking about other intersections being involved, even though we have to acknowledge that's important, yes.
Yeah, of course.
Talking about internalized misogyny as a blanket, individual intersection, let's say, that is something that both can talk about because similar experiences will have been that they've both experienced that system in the same way. You not having that experience is coming from a privileged perspective. But I want Kitty to chime in on this to see whether or not it might be worded differently and it might land better.
Gotcha.
So,
I apologize speaking over you. Honestly, I think it's just like I'm part like because we're on live and stuff. My fault, man.
that's right. Let's
Yeah.
pass over to Kitty.
Yeah.
Hi, Kitty42 Sheheart. I appreciate that acknowledgement, guest, and interrupting as well. Thank you. Sometimes when it's highlighted, many people don't want to acknowledge it, so appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
So the reason why women should be calling out other women's internalized misogyny is because we can recognize it more so within each other. Men are not subjected to misogyny. They don't face misogyny. So you calling it out with another woman, there's an imbalance there of power because you've not experienced that. So it's not your place to be calling it out when a woman or a femme person has been subjected to misogyny and through social conditioning and living under a patriarchy will also have internalized misogyny. But it's much more a conversation that women should be having with women and other femme people because like Lex said, it's an even playing field at that point because we can recognise it within each other. There's not an imbalance. Again, of course, we acknowledge intersectionality, of course, but it's not. Men need to be calling out other men for their misogyny and holding men accountable. And that would be so much more helpful because it's men who are causing the disproportionate harm to women and femme people. It's not other women that are doing that. It's men. So leave it to women and femme people to call out other women's internalized misogyny. I frequently do it in this space, no double standards. But ultimately, because of that, there will be a disproportionate power imbalance if a man's calling it out when he does not have a lived experience of ever being oppressed based on gender or ever being subjected to that. That's all it is.
Got you. I guess in my perspective, for instance, I'm black, so I want to carry this. I don't want to like obfuscate it, but I feel like it's a good example. So if I say I have a peer of mine, a fellow, black person, whatever, and for some reason their ideas and how they present themselves to the world and their ideas towards blackness, and it's very evident that they have a lot of racist ideas, a lot of internalized racism, right? And I have I have a white friend who has done a lot of work, who's been incredibly well read on anti-Black racism and just racial oppression in general, and they see this friend in the real world say just like very much not understanding like racism as a systemic force, I would say that my friend, they should of course recognize the fact that they're white, right? They should recognize like how themselves as a white person and how it's going to appear when talking to a Black person about anti-Black racism. But I really don't see, I guess in my field, in my perspective, I don't see how they cannot have a conversation with this person about how their behavior is detrimental to themselves and to the other people in their life. You know what I mean? I understand the oppressive dynamic that we are starting right now, but I guess like, I'm not saying that you don't understand that like we all live in an integrated society, whether it's among race, gender, whatever. But I just think the point to where we can't hold each other accountable, just like, when you see another person who is exhibiting these kinds of things and exhibiting real harm amongst other people, why we can't have conversations with people about that. I'm not advocating for like to take this away from race. I'm not advocating for men to like just start talking about internalized misogyny but I think they should put that in the broader context that we are the main perpetrators of misogyny. We have this systemic power, right? But like I follow various like content, like I guess like content creators, and amongst them, like I think we should, in order to have a more holistic understanding to where how these systemic forces oppress people collectively, it's better to have a holistic conversation towards how it impacts white people, Black people, men, and women. You know what I mean?
Okay. No, I hear you and I appreciate your perspective and take on that. I think what I will say, and I'll bring it back just for my perspective, just for the gender side of things. I think it's good being able to recognize that someone else is presenting with misogyny or internalized misogyny. It's about who's the appropriate person in that instance to hold that other person accountable, to have that conversation with them. It's because it is great being able to recognize. It's like we say, once people become more knowledgeable or more understanding about like misogyny, you can't unsee it. It's everywhere. Whether whoever is behaving in that way, okay, you can't unsee it. So I think it's great recognizing that yes, there are a number of women that have internalized misogyny, including myself, which I'm unpacking as well. But I don't feel it would be appropriate for another man who's never been subjected to that to hold me accountable to that. But would I be pleased that a man who's knowledgeable about it could recognize it and identify it? Sure. It's just he should not be the person having that conversation with me in that dynamic to hold me accountable for that, because he does not have that lived experience of being subjected to that. So that's the only thing I would say in that sense. It's just who's the most appropriate person in that dynamic to be having that conversation of accountability. But the identifying it is amazing. I do, fully appreciate that and respect that. But I'll drop just now because our other moderator, Darian's up here, who would like to share and speak to you if that's okay.
Thank you so much, Kitty. Appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you all.
Much love. Darian, over to you, buddy.
I think for me, this conversation surrounding the privileged members of society getting to educate the more marginalized one is always it's laughable to me. And that's not disrespect to you. No, I don't mean to like say that I'm laughing at you, but this conversation, I actually had a similar conversation earlier on in this panel. But what my thing is that when it comes to the more privileged like having done more reading and being more equipped, more knowledgeable on the oppressive system that they benefit from, having that level of education does not automatically empower them to be the people that should get to dictate, call out people across the spectrum, not just their own people, but people within the system or are oppressed by the system. And the reason for that is not just like Kitty said, they don't have the experience to do that, but to like exist inside and be oppressed by that system, but also it's not really anyone from the marginalized, for anyone from the privileged place to pass judgment on how the marginalized group is able to survive inside the oppressive system that they benefit from. And to afford them such power, it lends itself to the already problematic power dynamic, which is what Lex was explaining earlier, in that the power dynamic is already imbalanced, and that's across every oppressive system. There is no like for me as a black man, there is nothing that, even if I was to walk around with anti-blackness in me, and I can sit here and know that I have been socialized by an anti-black system to have anti-blackness in me, it would never be a white man's place to tell me about my anti-blackness, because the system that I am exhibiting a byproduct of having that internalized racism is a system that he set up. So and the same thing goes across all oppressive systems. But more to the point, there is no amount of reading or education or experience that the privileged members of society can do that will make them the bastion or beacons of goodness in that oppressive system. Meaning that your friend who is white, that is well read or whatever, and well versed amongst black oppression, that doesn't mean that he's been bestowed a place where he gets to speak about these oppressive systems or call out the people that are part of the marginalized community still having some anti-blackness in them, because also no matter how well read he thinks he is, no matter what experiences he thinks he has, he's still going to have anti-blackness in him. That's like you saying a guy who is a bully gets to tell other people, the people that he's bullying, to stop bullying, even though he hasn't stopped bullying. That makes no sense. And while I can understand why you would want to be in a place where white people should get to call out problematic black people, and why men should be able to call out problematic women, the society and culture that we do live in doesn't lend itself that power. It doesn't lend itself the affordability for that to happen, because the scale's already tipped in a way that is imbalanced. And the only way for us to exist inside a society where it's acceptable for that to happen is for the scales to be equal. And it's not equal. And we might not see it ever get equal in this lifetime across every oppressive system, but it will never, there is not a single white person that can tell me about the racism that I have to put up with, even if that ensuing racism has caused me to be anti-black. In fact, there have been many of situations where, and I can, Lex, you'll back me up here. You've seen something, you've gone, it's not my place to say anything, right? Yep. Because even if Lex feels that he's read up enough or has enough education or has enough understanding of my black oppression, it's not his place to ever get in the ring with black people and tell them how they're being anti-black. It's never his place. It can never be his place, because the system doesn't afford us that luxury. The system doesn't even afford us black people the luxury of being able to call out white people's racism. Because every single time we try to do it, we get laughed at or told that we've got a chip on our shoulder, or that we're too angry at the world, or we're making a mountain out of a molehill. That is what we get told when we call out the actual propagators of our oppression. That is what women get told when they talk about the propagators of their oppression. And so for anyone to come in here and basically say it's not fair because you've got well-read, educated white people. And I'm not saying that's what you said. I'm just like surmising this kind of thought process or perspective. But for anyone to come in here and say it's not fair that the more oppressed people, the privileged people, because they've read enough, they should be able to talk on these on these subjects when they are still propagating the harm. It will always be laughable to me, and there's an inherent bias that comes from people that are from those marginalized communities that will actually try to advocate for the privileged people to be able to come and correct us. Because, hang on, why is their white voice better than my black voice? Why can't people just listen to why can't people just listen to black people? Or why is that man's voice better than the woman's voice? Why is it that the same men expecting to be able to call out women for when they're problematic refuse to listen to women in the first place when they're talking about the oppression that they face? And the same thing can be said for these black people advocating for white people to do the same. Why are these white people getting to walk into a ring and call out a black person's anti-blackness when they refuse to listen to the black people who are on this app every day talking about the racism? And I'll leave it there. I'll see if you've got anything to say to respond to that, because I'm a bit perplexed, to be honest with you.
No, over to you, buddy.
No.
Hello? Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, man, I appreciate all of that. I understand that you specified several times that what you were saying is not reflective of what I was saying, but I guess like there's just several points in your argument specifically where I'm just confused. Like, I never said that, say, like, oh, a white person who's red or a man who's red should dictate the conversation or is the bastion of goodness, of virtue in terms of when we talk about the oppressed theory and learning bigotry. I never said that. As a matter of fact, if as a white person in these conversations, you should primarily be read up and be inundated within black spaces from black thought leaders, from female thought leaders. Primarily, your words and your theories and ideas should be brought from them. You should recognize that.
Women thought
I'm not
leaders.
saying you should. Sorry?
Women thought leaders. You said men and then female. You're displaying a level of misogyny in that by itself.
Oh,
Women.
I apologize for that. Black and women thought leaders, right? You should primarily be pulling from them, right? I'm not saying they should dictate the conversation, but I'm saying that as a person within this society, in my opinion, if I see a black person, for instance, and I'll bring up the example of, say, like Trayvon Martin, or just any person who's unjustifiably murdered through police violence.
Unalived.
Violence. Yeah, murder.
Unalived. You have to read to talk friendly language.
I apologize for that. Unalive through systemic violence, and they're talking about this. Say it's a person in my life. I would think, at least, like, I don't see why. I cannot see why it would not be a problem for this white friend to talk about it, though. Right? You know what I mean?
Do you know what's hilarious is that
What?
is that you
If they
I don't even like to reference the chat. I haven't even had to say anything, but the chat has already picked up on the fact that you didn't listen to anything that I said.
Sorry, what did I miss, man? I'm sorry.
No, you know what? I'm not gonna like repeat myself. I'll be really honest with you. Hi Lex. But it's just I just want to highlight the fact that you mentioned a couple of things that I said, but you missed the entire point of what I said entirely. And it wasn't just me who noticed it. Lex noticed it. The chat noticed it. All of it to again say that you don't see why it would be a problem that your white friend should get to talk about this. And no one's saying white people can't talk about this stuff. No one's actually saying it. But but again, I'm not going to repeat myself. Lex wants to say something. It's his live. I'm not gonna.
Got you.
Two things.
Got you.
One is
Got you.
just conscious of time. I need to come to a close soon. But what I want to say about it is this live is recorded. We upload our lives. If you feel like you missed the point, I would encourage you to rewatch the live.
Got you. I'll watch it.
And you can hear everything that Darian said again to make sense of it, because Darian just gave you a lot of education and it was very much met with a dismissive response quite quickly. Like Darian was talking for a good 5 to 10 minutes about understanding oppressive systems, the ways that people contribute to upholding those systems versus holding people accountable within them, why the dynamics don't work when it's the oppressor to the oppressed. And I'm not going to lie, it was a bit of an insensitive response. So I'm just going to say I'm going to leave it there, but people in the chat are putting the link for you to be able to go and watch it. I will upload it later on this evening or maybe tomorrow morning, but I would recommend doing that, okay?
Yeah, I would love to talk to you more, man, because I'm not going to lie. I feel like you hearing your points, I don't even feel like you fully understood specifically what I was talking about. I love to talk to you more about it, truly. Like, I really want to have a conversation about it.
I'm going to go live again tomorrow. You're more than welcome to come back, but I would really recommend you watching it again.
I don't want to go live. I'd rather, I don't think, honestly, for the conversation I will have, I don't think this live is suitable for it. For one, I don't think it's suitable for it.
I think plenty of men come up here and do get educated and do appreciate it. For you to just listen to what Darian said again, I don't think it was something that I think it was something that was very well explained and easy to understand. So if you want it repeated in a different way, I'm just saying
I disagreed with several of his premises, is what I'm saying.
Listen to my premise regardless, because if you did, you wouldn't have been able to find a way to dismiss it all. We're not really saying anything in order to once again justify that you want your white friend to be able to talk on these subjects. That's all you did. You didn't actually say why you disagree. You mentioned a few of the points that you picked up on that you knew you wanted to quote unquote disagree. You dismissed the rest of it and then said, "I don't get why my white friend can't say anything." It's done. No, it's okay. It's done. Because quite frankly, I know Lex doesn't have much more time here. As Lex has said, the live will be up there. You can watch it or don't watch it. However, I do think there's something to be said about the level of entitlement you think you have, whereby you think you can dictate to Lex how he should converse with you about a topic you refuse to actually actively engage in, earnestly on. Like all of a sudden right now, Lex should be able to find a way to contact you off his live when actually he doesn't know you. He shouldn't have to engage in a discourse with you outside of his own parameters and his own boundaries. If you don't like that, find somewhere else to go, my friend. Lex has offered you a way to come back and talk. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. But that is the way what he's going to do. Rewatch or don't rewatch, that's neither here nor there. Lex will be live again tomorrow and later on in the rest of the week. You can come back. He's already offered it to you. Please, just make a decision, but don't demand more of Lex's time when Lex has tried to engage honestly with you, and so have I. That's what I'll leave there. Love you, buddy. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Take care, mate. Love you, bye. Right, moderators, thank you so much. To those in the chat who were listening today, the education from the moderators today was off the scale. Seriously, there was a lot, and I hope a lot of people were able to gain so much understanding from it. Once again, recognition for the fact that this was unfortunately another live, however, where the moderators were subjected to harm due to things like muting and the DMs, which I have not yet seen, but I'm fully aware are on a level that is completely beyond words that would describe it. This is what the moderators experience. The majority of the moderators, all Bardarian women. It's the moderators that do everything they can to keep this space safe. It's the moderators, as well as the ones that regularly support here, of course, but it is the moderators that have literally helped this profile and platform and community get to where it is right now. The moderators run the live, and not enough respect is given to them. It really isn't. There's always a huge expectations that the moderators come into this space, do what they do, and then they continue on with their lives. That's not what happens behind the scenes. It's really not. It's far from it. Hi, Kitty.
Hi, I'm Kitty42 She Her. As some of you know, I do often share some of the vile DMs that I get. I did upload it, and if you want to hear about an act of misogyny, so a vile DM that I got, which had some of the worst ableist slurs, the hard R, the hard S, more ableist rhetorics, homophobic language, slurs beginning with F, ad hominems, also in caps as well, which really offended me. Caps are for mods only. Oh, yeah. So I uploaded it to demonstrate what the women and femme-centered people are subjected to in our DMs. TikTok removed it. Community violations. So the women who are subjected to the harm, we try to raise awareness about the harm, and it gets removed. Misogyny in action. So yeah, that's all I can say. That's some of the worst that I've received in a very long time, and that's even more so than the ongoing police stuff I've got going on. Just do better. Do better. Hold men accountable. Do better. I'm trying to say really regulated here because that was really quite upsetting. But that was just a demonstration of misogyny. Even by that, women and femme-centered people can't even speak about the harm. Gets taken down. Anyway, onwards. I don't know what you're doing, if you're doing battles or whatever next, not, or...
I'll do one, but I'm not in the mood to do many.
Yeah.
I can add something onto what you said.
Yeah, of course.
If there are any men in the chat who just heard that and are still finding the urge to strongly disagree with the prompts, just remember the majority of the time when you do, you are defending men like that. Those are the men that you were actually defending, because those men disagree with these prompts as well.
Yeah. And also for those that do say as well, encourage me to turn my DMs off. I had my DMs off for a long time. I had my account on private for a long time. But I do believe strongly, I know what I can handle. I would turn them off if needed. But I'm very much let people show themselves. Women and femme-centered people have been subjected to harm in silence and shamed for speaking up for so long. I'll let people show themselves. I'll highlight it as much as I can. I will speak about it. We're not going to be silenced. I shouldn't have to though. I totally understand that. But this is, I'm going to let people show themselves for who they are. We've been silenced for too long. Part of the education. Anyway, where do we go from here?
I don't know. Yeah. Obviously,
Catch your piece.
Yes, I'll catch up with you after, obviously. But yeah, it's well, I don't have a word to describe it really, because I think they will be of a weak descriptor of what it really has as an impact.
Yeah, I'm not up here saying this for empathy or sympathy. I don't do that because it gives me it's ick. It's just for awareness, like raising awareness and education. Anyway, I need to go because my dog has many thoughts apparently on this as well. Right.
All right.
Okay. Bye.
See you in a bit. Bye bye. Still, as always, though, thank you, moderators, as well as those who do support and do continue to show up every day. Let's see if we can continue the win streak. We're just going to do one battle, so let's bring it home after the way that live was today. That was heavy for many. We are, as I said, in B3, which is amazing. So win to the community for that. And if you do want to catch up on the lives, the 2 lives yesterday were also very, very, let's say,
Hello, Dan.
there was like 400 to 500 people in them a couple of days ago. Those lives are already uploaded, I believe. I just need to do today's 2 lives.